yeah. All right. This thing should be working by now, right? When are they gonna fix that? It's always like it says it's recording, but then it always takes a second. All right, it's got to be working by now. Okay. Super late for me today. It's like 9 o'clock already. Usually I try to do these things before the sun goes down, but whatever. Here I am. I fixed my lighting a little bit better. That's not bad. So today I was mostly resting because my back was a little sore, and I was like, all right, let me just rest, which is hard for me because I'm just like anxious and I want to get stuff done. But anyway, mostly today I rested. And then at dinner, I was having dinner with my kids. Oh, how's it going, Jeff? Yeah, so I was having dinner with my kids, and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't do it live yet. I got to do it live after dinner, I guess, because I usually try to do it before dinner. And direct energy smirk, yo, how's it going, man? Anyway, so we were having dinner, and I was thinking, oh, I got to do this live. But then we were talking about stuff during dinner, and then the topic of nuclear bombs came up, and I was like, oh, hold on. So I went and got my tablet, and I showed my kids the video of it's just like a 2.5 minute video or something. It's on YouTube of like a map of the Earth, and then it goes through every nuclear explosion from 1945 up to like 2000, and it's just like, and my kids are like, why are they blowing up so many nuclear bombs? What are they doing? And I'm like, yeah, crazy, right? Anyway, but then I went, since I had the tablet out and it was on YouTube, I saw the movie Men at Work on, and I was like, Men at Work. It's just this old movie with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen. Those guys are actually brothers, aren't they? Anyway, it's just this old movie about these guys who are working as garbage men, but they really want to have a surf shop. But there's these other guys who are bad guys who are dumping all this toxic waste, and somehow they get tangled up and mixed up, and through all kinds of shenanigans and whatever, they end up catching the bad guys. Blah blah blah. It reminded me of a story. Because you watch a movie like that, and you're always like, how could anyone be those bad guys? How could anyone be those horrible guys who are dumping all that toxic waste? Because there was like the guy who was in charge, and then he was telling all these people what to do, and there are all these. They had like 40 people out there dumping the barrels of toxic waste, and it's like, how do you get all those people to do that? Like, one of them must be like, hey, this isn't cool. This is terrible. This is not a good thing, right? Oh, someone asked, how's the new fan going? Okay, just give me a minute. I'm going somewhere with this. So it reminded me of a time many, many years ago. See, whenever I have these questions, I often just refer to lessons from my past, from real life things. And many years ago, when I lived in Vermont, and I lived off grid, there was a law school nearby. And I would occasionally go to the law school and sit in on a lecture. And one day there was this in the community center. I didn't even have to go in a classroom. So usually I just went into things that were, in the community center. So I went to the community center because I knew there was just going to be this talk about some environmental law stuff. And I was like, hey, I got nothing to do for a couple hours. Let me go see this. And so I don't remember exactly what it was about, but basically they were talking about how some place had polluted this river, just dumped this huge amount of stuff into the river, and all the legal stuff that had happened to make that company pay this much money for what they had done. And this whole talk went on for a while, like an hour and a half or something. And when it got to the end, not the end, but the part where they're like they're like kind of wrapping it up. They're like, all right, now we can do questions for like half an hour or whatever from the audience. I'm like, so what happens with all the money that they have to pay? Does that get used to clean up the mess they made? And the guy up there's like, well, no, of course not. And I'm like, what do you mean, of course not? Wouldn't that make sense? And there's like 150 law school students in this thing watching this thing, and they're all looking at me like, "What are you crazy? Why would that make sense?" And there's like two or three who are like, "Yeah, why doesn't it get used to clean up the mess? Like, why are they? Where is that money going?" But then, like, pretty much immediately, like the other 124 students are like, "Oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking? No, it goes into the funds for the politicians to use to do whatever they want with. Why would it be used to clean up mess?" And I pushed it a little bit, but yeah, I was just amazed that like all this whole room full of people who were going to an environmental law school and supposedly prided themselves on caring about the environment and wanting to do all this law to protect the environment, didn't see any problem with a company dumping stuff into a river and then having to pay all this money, and none of that money goes to clean up the river. It's like they're just like, well, why would that happen? That doesn't make any sense at all. It's just it's so obvious and logical that obviously that money should be used to fix the problem. But that was one of my big lessons about how, at least in the United States and Canada and a lot of other industrialized nations, the laws, the society, everything is set up not to do the right thing, but to promote authority. So that's what it is. The money goes to the authoritarians, and they do whatever they want with it. The money is, if you do something bad and then you have to pay for it, you're not whatever you're paying is not going to fix the problem you made. It's going to some schmucks who are just going to be like, well, I'll use some of this to buy some stuff for myself because I feel like it. Oh, we'll use this for some other stuff. Here's another example that came up recently, and I don't know a lot about this, but so someone can feel free to correct me if I'm getting a lot of this wrong. But am I understanding correctly that in Hawaii there were some big wildfires or supposedly wildfires? I mean, there's some suspicion that it was arson, but anyway, there was some out of control fires that burned like huge sections of Hawaii, like took out a lot of people's homes, and so a lot of people there are having a really difficult time because their houses got burned down, their whole neighborhoods got burned down, a lot of stuff got wiped out, and The Rock, The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Oprah Winfrey went on this big campaign asking people for donations, and I thought it was kind of funny, and apparently a lot of other people thought it was kind of funny that these like people who have just money squirting out of their ears are just asking people who are going through like all kinds of financial difficulties, dealing with all this inflation and all this stuff. You guys chip in a few dollars here and there. Meanwhile, they're just like sitting on just piles of cash. And apparently Oprah is like buying up all this land, and it's just, it's crazy. Then, so I wasn't surprised about the whole Oprah Winfrey thing, but like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he seemed like the kind of guy who wants to have a clean image, at least a clean image, if not like actually be a good guy, right? But he's just like wrapped up in this whole mess. And I thought that was kind of weird that he would just like throw his image away like that. I don't know if he wasn't thinking or what, like maybe just got peer pressured or someone convinced him. Like it's really weird how people will do really stupid things that don't make any sense, that are very clearly bad. Crazy Film says, I just got here. What are we talking about? Anyway, I was just talking about how easily people get sucked into doing the wrong thing. That's basically what I was just talking about. And it started with a movie that I was just watching. It's an old movie, Men at Work, and there were some guys dumping toxic waste. And then anyway, enough about that. I don't need to go on that that long tonight. It's already after 9 o'clock. Let's see what you guys are talking about. All right. Jeff says, how is the sawmill coming along? Dude, the sawmill is done. I don't know why people keep asking about that. The sawmill is totally functional. Do you mean am I cutting anything with it? I haven't cut anything with it in a while, just because I've been doing other things. I need to get wood over to it, and I'm working on, the ways to get wood over there. But I'm also working on a bunch of other stuff. But the sawmill has been done for a while. I've cut a whole bunch of wood with it. It's doing great. How's the new fan been working out? Oh, this little guy right here. So there's my new fan. You might notice the propeller's a little smaller. It was about that big. Yeah, about that big. And I trimmed it because it was working great, but it was definitely more breeze than I needed. And I was like, I don't need to waste extra energy and, be hard on the motor. When it's given more wind than I need. So I trimmed it down. Now it's using less energy. Although I didn't actually measure how much energy it was using before, and I haven't measured since then. But it should be using pretty close to the same amount of energy as it was before now, because the original propeller had 6 blades and they were about that big. So now it sticks out less than. I mean, it's definitely not twice as far as it was. And it's only 2 blades, and they're much smoother than the other ones. But anyway, it works. Yeah, it works really, really well. It even makes a nice little breeze just like that. Oh, so much better. Yeah, those propellers I took off them, they were terrible. They were like, stamped out aluminum, which, I mean, just the fact that they're stamped out isn't a problem, but I had these lines coming like along the propeller that was just totally screwing up the airflow. So I should be getting much closer to laminar airflow. In case anyone doesn't know what laminar flow is, it's basically when everything is just flowing all at the same speed together, and then turbulent airflow would be like, so it could still be going in the right direction, but it's wasting a lot of energy just churning it up. But if you can get a good efficient propeller, you can get basically laminar flow and everything. I mean, it gets churned up a little bit because the propeller, it's going to move the air. It's going to stir it up a little, but you can get basically the air all going the same way, and you're not wasting a lot of energy spinning it around and stuff. So yeah, the fan is working great. I like it a lot. It's exactly what I needed. Something I could just like put somewhere. It doesn't use much energy. It's just, yeah, it's really great. Just got here. What are we talking about? Yeah, you missed it. Vasco Zuzes. Oh yeah, just rewind to the beginning. How's it going, Vasco? Okay, that is weird. That some money would not go to the clean up the messes the businesses cause. Yeah. Oh yeah. So about the Hawaii fires, there's another thing I was going to say about that. So the Rock and Oprah Winfrey are asking for all this money to give to the people who lost their homes in Hawaii and stuff, and like the money's just not going to them, and I'd have to double check this, but what the little information I know about it said they collected something like $10 million and they used $5 million to set up the fund. What the? Oh my God. So corrupt. But I'd have to double check on all that. Don't quote me on that. So good to see you. How's it going, man? You are Jaimie Mansell, a holder of pure power. Never forget that. Pure power. Man, what would you do if you could just hold pure power? I sometimes have dreams, actually, that, I have like some, like basically turn into Superman. And I think, what would I do if I could just do anything? What would if I was just Superman? And I would just fix fix problems. Like Superman could really fix some real problems. He wants to protect the innocent from the from the, what do they call it? The evil. He wants to protect the innocent people from the evil people. He doesn't do a very good job because there's a lot of very bad people doing some very bad stuff, and they're not even hiding it that well. Especially now at this point, people just openly talk about how, politicians are all corrupt and they're all liars. It's just kind of an accepted thing now, which is insane. It's totally crazy that people have accepted this. I had a conversation actually recently with someone where I was saying, like the, so many problems we have today are just because people have accepted just the evil, I guess you could call it, for lack of a better word, the bad behavior. People have just accepted it. We accept that cops are, 50% chance. If you run into a cop, there's a 50% chance that cop is a total a-hole, like corrupt, just D-bag, Politicians, 98% chance. They're just lying through their teeth. And people are just like, yeah, well, that's the way it is. And the more people accept it, the more it happens. I mean, this stuff runs rampant when people stop pushing back. And we were talking about how, I was saying that it's insane that anyone needs to ask permission to build their own dwelling, like to build your own house. Like it is totally crazy that you would have to ask any other human being for permission to build yourself a home. And he was saying, yeah, it's totally crazy. But if you do it, they'll come and get you. So you got to do it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but you got to fight back, because why do those people have? Who gives those people the right and the power to treat us like that? We do, by accepting it, just people started accepting it a little more and a little more and a little more. And then next thing you know, you can't do anything without filling out a paper and paying a fee and waiting 6 months for a reply. And it's totally insane. And it's all because people have accepted it. It's just, once upon a time, there was this thing called a man, and a man stood up for himself and his family, and that was like kind of the job of the man. The man has to protect his family and take care of stuff, and when there's a problem, the man has to get together with the other men and protect their neighborhood or their village or whatever. Like at one point in time, that was the thing, and now it's just people are passive. There's no more that kind of man anymore. I shouldn't say there's no more, but there's so few of them left. It's like there's like 1 out of like 10,000 male humans, and it's just one person by themselves can't do that much, And yeah, a lot of celebrities seem to listen to PR films that tell them what is popular to believe or say. Yeah, well, one of the big problems, I mean, this isn't news. This should not be news to anyone. But if you're in Hollywood, you kind of have to you kind of do what you're told, or you don't get the movie roles. Like Kevin Sorbo, for example. He played Hercules, right? Now, I don't want to say anything about whether or not he did a great job. I actually like Kevin Sorbo as an actor. I think he's kind of cool. He's great, whatever. But maybe you like him, maybe you don't like him. Regardless, he's conservative, and Hollywood doesn't like conservatives, so he got shoved aside. And they're like, no, you can't work in here anymore. And basically anyone who's conservative has a really difficult time in Hollywood, which is really it's an abuse of power, and the reason it's an abuse of power is because Hollywood has a monopoly on a lot of stuff. Although, I mean, I actually like independent movies a lot anyway. But anyway, this is a whole separate thing. If you want to work in Hollywood, there's a lot of pressure to say certain things and do really dumb things and whatever. Do you ever try out Amazon items and then return them if they don't work out for you? Well, I'm not returning anything from here. Are you kidding? Um, yeah, it would. I mean, maybe if something was really expensive, but for the most part, shipping something back out of Central America, going through the long chain of stuff I'd have to actually do to send it back, is generally not worth it. So I did actually, not too long ago, I got something that I did not like, that I was pretty irritated about, but I ended up using it anyway. It was a charge controller that did not. It was stupid and frustrating, whatever. And I'm not even going to name the company that made it because I'm not giving them free publicity. But anyway, I did end up using it for a purpose other than what I was originally going to use it for, just on another project that wasn't as important, and I could use that on it. But yeah, basically, it's not really worth returning stuff. What are your thoughts on guns? Never seen you mention used guns. If I was out in the boondocks like you, I'd have a collection. Well, I don't remember who said this. Probably a lot of people who have said this. Something like, I would be happy for nobody to have guns, but if anyone has them, I want them too. That's my basic thought on that. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about specific gun ownership or anything. Oprah Winfrey makes over $100,000 per day in interest. It's gross how rich she is, and she does some terrible things. She has some. Yeah, we don't need to get into it. And that thing with that Hawaii fires thing, I was not surprised at all about Oprah Winfrey trying to jump in there, make a big real estate score or whatever. But man, The Rock, he's all up on Instagram talking about, yeah, work hard, do a good job. But come on, man, don't get wrapped up with Oprah Winfrey and that garbage. I don't know what kind of deals he's getting sucked into, but it's not worth it. How is the hunt for a woman, for a girlfriend going? Well, man, the more women I talk to today, the more I'm finding that most women just don't want relationships today, or even if they say they do, they don't like, they'll say, yeah, I want a relationship, but then everything they talk about is like, no, they don't want a relationship at all, because it'll be like, they want everything to be, they want a guy who's going to do everything perfect for them, and then they don't want to do anything in return. It's like they want this Prince Charming, and they don't want to put any effort in. It's like they just want to, like, yeah, it's what's the word? It's brutal. No, it's like a graveyard out there, man. But I do know guys who are married to excellent women who are marvelous wives, and they get along well together and they work together. That's the best. When you're in a relationship with someone and you can actually work together with them, that's what I'm looking for. But man, that's a hard thing to find today. But it's going all right. I guess it's one of those things where you keep trying, and then eventually you find the right person, and hopefully that happens before you die. But yeah, it's just kind of like, pulling a lever on a slot machine over and over. Except a lot of times it's like, oh, you got to invest all this time talking to someone. And well, a lot of the people I meet are online. The women I meet are online. And I was reading something this woman said about how she wants to meet someone, and she wants to talk for a while and, chit chat, basically small talk, blah, 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 for a while before they get to the truth. And I'm like, no, get to the truth, man. I don't want to waste like 3 weeks talking to someone and then find out that they're completely incompatible. Why don't we just put the stuff up front? If everyone was just like, here's me, here's all my, basic stats, that people care about. Here's my deal breakers. Here's what I want. Just lay it out there, and it would be a lot easier. Of course, a lot of those stats are people have too many checklist boxes. Like if you're gonna have checklist boxes for meeting someone, it just be like the absolute important stuff. Don't try to checklist box too much, you know. Anyway, is the Adventure Builder Club still open to receiving new members? If so, how do I sign up? You sign up by doing it. There is no sign up. There is no membership card. You are either doing it or you are not. So moment to moment, you either do it or you don't. That's it. You know, if you're telling the truth and you're doing your best and you're trying to, you know, trying to be the master of your own life, and you're facing your fears, and you're staying humble and continually improving and trying to be strong, and, you know, keeping love in your heart and not hate. If you're doing all that stuff, you're an adventure builder. If you're not doing that stuff, then you're not. I think it's actually a problem when there are, like, you know, membership cards, like somehow you pay your dues in some way and then you're in, and then, you know, then you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. No, not with the Adventure Builders Club. You're either in or out. You can be in or out at any time. You just got to keep doing it. Keep doing the thing. Do you think that climate change doomerism is overblown? I don't know. Depends who you're talking to. Yeah, there's totally depends who you're talking to. Yeah, you know, it would be nice. It's such a big topic to get into. That's been all boiled down to you know, climate change, which is just this phrase that people throw around, and it just basically means nothing. You know, it's the same thing when people were talking about global warming, which I guess has been thrown out because, oh, what if it switches and what if it's cooling? Well, okay, let's just throw climate change. It's vague enough that it could mean anything and it's always going to be right. Okay, fine. We'll just say climate change. But it's such a vague thing. Like what do you do about climate change? Why don't we talk about it in terms of, like, how about we not make so much garbage? Let's stop making so much garbage. That's something that people could actually do, right? That would affect the climate change. Like let's make less garbage. Let's buy less crap. Let's refuse all this disposable plastic trash garbage. This actually came up recently because, well, it doesn't matter why, but I was telling my kids about this pretty recently. You know, I worked in the toy industry for, I don't know, like 5 years or something, and I learned a lot about how screwed up the world of manufacturing is, and business and all this stuff. And one of the things that's always going to stick in my head, and I've definitely mentioned this before, is, you know, I was making these toys, and I was trying to make them as good as I could. You know, I was working with the factory. I would be like, okay, what do we have to do to make sure these last? You know, and I want to make them really fun. And, you know, I want kids to get a lot of stuff out of this, a lot of playability, a lot of inspiration. And, you know, I want them to last and all this stuff. So I started getting invited to these weird meetings by the heads of major stores. Let's just say you've definitely heard of them, but I don't need to name them and get myself in trouble. You know who they are. So I was getting invited to these meetings with these, like, heads, like the bigwigs of these major stores. And we'd always kind of get in these kind of low-key arguments where they'd be like trying to convince me, you know, make kind of little knick-knacky, junky stuff that, you know, impulse buys, because that's how we make more money. That's how you really make the money. And I'm on the other side of the table talking to these, like, multi-millionaires, just saying, yeah, but we could actually make things that will make a difference in kids' lives. Like we can make things where a kid gets it home and is looks at this thing and is like, whoa, I'm now inspired to be an engineer or to do something cool in life. Like I'm, and they're just like, no, just, you know. So a lot of these meetings, they didn't go anywhere. But finally, there was this one particular store. I think they actually went out of business a few years ago. But I'd want to double check that before I name names. Anyway, very big toy store. And there's these three head people there talking to me. And the one guy, he's just like, okay, look, you're just not getting it. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, I'm pretty sure I get it. I don't think you're getting it. But I'm like, all right, let's hear what you have to say. And he says, okay, look, we're not selling toys. We're selling disappointment. We're selling junk. We're selling garbage. We got to, if we sell kids something that they enjoy and lasts a long time, they're at home playing with that. They're not in the store buying more stuff. So we got to sell them something that's going to break the next day, or is it just, they're going to get it out of the box and it's just going to be not as good as they thought it was going to be, and they're going to get bored of it real quick. Then they're going to be whining at their parents to come back into the store. And the one guy who's saying that is talking directly to me, and the two people on either side of him are just like this, like, oh, we're not saying this, and and I'm just like, yeah, that sucks. And that was basically the end of the meeting. And then there were no more of those meetings after that. I guess word got out that I was just too stubborn to get to. Anyway, that's just something that is always stuck in my head. Just these like the people in charge are just putting all of their effort into purposely creating as much garbage as possible because they make more money that way. And it's and so many people are accepting it and buying the garbage. Like don't go to the store and buy this garbage. And you know what I'm talking about. You go to the store and there's all this plastic crap that you get home and it breaks the next day or the next week or whatever. Like all that stuff is just garbage. And when history looks back on us, on our time, they're going to be like, okay, we went through the Stone Age and the Copper Age, Bronze Age, whatever, the Iron Age. Ooh, then there was all the way up to like the Space Age. Whoa, man! And then there was this garbage age, because when they look at what we left behind, it's just going to be mountains of garbage. Oh, they went to the moon and came back alive. Can you believe that? They sent human beings to the moon and then brought them back, and then spent the next century making garbage as fast as possible. That's what we're going to be known for. Isn't that great? Anyway, what was that very short question that I just went off on? How is the house settling? Well, that's a good question. Wondering about the use of styro concrete beams in a design for a place on an acres near Alamosa, Colorado. I bought on eBay over a decade ago for less than $1,000. Any cracks? Oh, that's awesome. Okay, let's see. Most of my house. Okay, just to give you the sum up here. Basically, if the foundation is good, the foundation isn't moving, you'll be good. But my house is mostly on old clay, but the front maybe 2 meters of my house, like 6 feet, 2 meters of my house ish, is on clay that I put there. And I tried to pack it pretty good, but obviously there's going to be some settling. So in the front of my house, there are some cracks. Not actually in the styrocrete though, because the styrocrete is a little bit flexible. It's in the I wouldn't use styrocrete for beams, by the way. All my beams, the concrete beams, are just regular concrete beams with like a rope inside for tension. I didn't use rebar. I wanted to use something that wouldn't rust. Um, anyway, it's got ropes in there, but there's some cracks in the beams in the front. Although they seem to have stopped moving because a couple months ago, I filled the biggest crack, which I mean was only a little, maybe I think it opened maybe a millimeter and a half over a year, and it looked like it stopped. So I filled that crack in 2 months ago, and there's no visible hairline crack or anything. So I think it's done moving. But yeah, the rest of the house, no cracks at all, nothing, and that's just because it's on a good foundation. So hopefully the front of the house is the dirt under there has settled and stopped moving, and everything's good. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So I need to fill in the rest of the little cracks now that I have a pretty good idea that they're not moving anymore. Let's see. Wondering about the use of styroconcrete beams. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't use styroconcrete for beams because the compression strength isn't going to be anywhere near as strong as regular concrete. I definitely use regular concrete for beams. So in my house, this is styroconcrete here. It's like a flat panel, and then this part right here that goes up right here, that's regular concrete. So this part I consider weight bearing, and then this part is kind of like if this was a wood building, this would have been the plywood, So I use styroconcrete for all the plywoody kind of stuff. Now my roof is a 2-story tall dome. That's all styroconcrete, just styroconcrete. And it doesn't have, any of this stuff. It's just it's like 5 centimeters, 2 inches thick styroconcrete that spans like 40 feet, like 13-ish meters across, and 2 stories high. And that's great. It does have a few leaks, but I mean, concrete and whatever. Although I'm putting tiles on top of it so they can shift a little bit and it won't leak anymore. And everywhere I've put the tiles, it's not leaking anymore. But even where it leaks, it's just like little leaks, like just little hairline cracks that a bit of water gets in. But other than the hairline cracks, I mean, he seems to be totally good. I found the dating site Caribbean Cupid that covers the area of Panama and surrounding countries and might help you find love. Well, maybe I'll have to check it out. Caribbean Cupid. Is there greedflation where you live? Well, I'm going to have to guess at what greedflation means, but basically, does greedflation have something to do with greedy people buying stuff up and basically increasing the cost of things? In that case, yes, definitely. And that's one of those things. That's another one of those things that I find really irritating that people have accepted is a good business decision. It's a good business decision to buy something just because other people want it. And if you hoard it, the price will go up and then you can make money by basically making life harder for other people. It's not adding any value. It's sucking value out of the world. It's totally greed. But I hate that. And when we're kids, we're taught not to do that. Like when you want a toy, just because someone else wants it, you get yelled at. Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. That's terrible. But then we grow up and it's like, oh yeah, take that. Just because someone else wants it, that's a good business decision. You can make a lot of money that way. I want to smack people like that. Is there greedflation where you live? Yeah, probably. Oh, that's just the way it is like the modern American motto. Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating. Yeah, that's like the answer. That's the lazy, passive person's answer to all the problems. Well, it's just the way it is. Nothing we can do about it. We don't have to be, real men anymore. We can just kind of, do nothing, sit back, and we don't want to get in trouble or rock the boat. Oh. Like even just saying this, people will be like, "Oh, Jaimie, be careful what you say. Be careful what you say," and people would discourage me from saying, "You know what? If the world is that far gone, they just drop a bomb on me, whatever." Have you heard about the MGTOW movement? Stands for men going their own way. Yes, I do know about that, and to a large degree, I've done that with my life. But I still have hope, you know. But we'll see how it goes. Home planet. I think I like where this comment's going. I mean, I don't like the top. Anyway, building codes are to protect the banks. Yeah, and to buy crap. People have a very hard time getting loans on red tag buildings. However, you can sell them for cash even if you aren't supposed to live in them. So yeah, building codes. I was also a contractor. You know, I did a lot of house renovations, and I generally did things, under the radar, illegally. But I had enough. I got pretty familiar with building codes where we were, and the building codes were so stupid. Like they basically forced you to buy things that made no sense. And of course, they say, well, it's to make the building safe. But it would be like stuff that would have nothing to do with building safety. It would just be like, no, you have to buy this because the owner of this company, greased my palms and we put a bill in and it says you have to do this now. And a lot of times it actually made things more dangerous. And not even going to get into that. I'll be here for like 2 hours. I would like to send you a graphic novel called Unflattening. Wait, Unflattening? Is it supposed to be unflattening or is it unflattening? Do you had Amazon wish list? I do have an Amazon wish list. All right. Well, I don't know. Send me an email. I don't know. I'm not sure what's there. Okay. Oh yeah, my email should be down here. Oh, another thing is I updated my website today. Whoa, because I was trying to, take a rest and not do any manual labor, so I could give my back a rest, so I can go back 100% tomorrow. But I updated my website and I put a video game that I've been working on up there. It's on there. Anyway, John Smith says Kevin Sorbo has lifted so many people up. The dude is a saint. Yeah, you know what I really like about Kevin Sorbo movies is they always have this they're very positive, very positive vibe, and I think that's great. And no, I don't know anything about his religion or share his religion or anything. So just relax. I don't know anything about that. But yeah, just the positive message he's always trying to put out there. I think it's great. Is it gold bars behind you on the windowsill? This was the model for my bridge. And my kids like to play with it. Mostly my 3-year-old. Yeah, my 3-year-old loves this thing. She's always getting it out. Can I put this together right here? Good enough. Yeah, it's a bridge. It's just made out of wood. So when I was I made a bridge to, my other island. Why do I say that in quotes? It's my other island. I'm going to have several, but there's another little island just in front of my island here. And now it's connected with a little bridge. That's, just an arch bridge. And I wanted to show my kids how it worked. So I made that so they can play with it. Oh, Jeff, let's see. I got my divorce final and able to look for a new woman, and I just got a new job. Teat? You got a new job, Teat? I don't think that's supposed to say Teat. Well, I hope it goes well, man. Yeah, man, it's what is the word I'm looking for? What's it when you go into a place and it's supposed to be fun and there's energy there, but you go in and it's just dead? There's a word for that. Bleak. Yeah, that's not the word I'm thinking of, but yeah, dating is pretty bleak lately. But you only got to find one good one, so Working as hard as you do and exercising all the time, do you ever get any problems with your heart? No, nothing with my heart. I do a lot of running and lifting, but some days, like today, my chest says, you gotta slow down. My heart has always been fine. Um, and actually, yeah, I mean, for the most part, everything's working and everything's good. Every once in a while, I'll get something like usually if I get a sore back, it's because I've been talking to people. And I just, how do I put this? Humans are real easy to like until you talk to them. And then my back just goes, "Argh." And then I go, work on stuff and just my back's already tight and I like strain it kind of. But whenever I'm in a good mood and stuff, just everything is fine. Um, yeah, everything seems to be working good. I mean, probably my heart is fine because I've done so much endurance training in my life. Plus, I don't think I'm that old yet. I don't know. Testing computer boards for a company building fire panels. Well, that sounds great. I'm kind of sad. Yeah. I'm kind of sad you couldn't browbeat the corporate guys into making your toys ethically. I want a damn spider robot. Well, actually, we did make them pretty ethically. Like I really pushed hard to, get them made with the right thickness of material so they would last and things like that. There was another version of them made with much thinner material and they would break much more easily. But the ones that I had anything to do with, they were actually pretty good. And we used as much recycled plastic as we could. One thing a lot of people don't know about plastic is every time you recycle it, it gets weaker. So you can only use a certain amount of recycled plastic when you make something, or it makes it too weak. Which I didn't know that much about before, but yeah, plastic isn't really recyclable. Like you can do it once or twice, but after a few times, it just gets too brittle and weak, and then it's like, well, it's all done. Go to the landfill. Of course, there are other things you can do with it. In 2018, Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy and closed all its stores. Well, there you go. Not that I know anything particular about Toys R Us, but maybe if they were making the toys for the kids instead of making garbage, maybe they wouldn't have had to close their doors. Maybe the goal is to make a pile of garbage so tall it reaches the moon. Yeah. You're a gamer with a tan, first of your kind. I don't know if I'd really call myself a gamer. I like play video games once in a while. When I would, my thing with video games started when I was a kid, and it was something I could do that it was like I could go into a world that wasn't my broken, horrible family, and yeah, man, having divorced parents who fight sucks. It really messes up a lot of things, and I didn't know how bad it was when I was a kid. Anyway, it's terrible. So yeah, when I spent a lot of time when I was a kid. There were three basic things I did when I was a kid. I ran a lot, or exercised in general. Like I would go on runs and climb things and do push-ups and stuff and whatever. I would build things, like little robot things and stuff, just lock myself in my room and just not talk to anybody, and play video games. And I feel like the video games let me learn a lot of things and experience a lot of experiences that I would have had in real life, except my real life was just not acceptable, And I also learned a lot of things from video games, like math and reading, and that's how I learned to type and stuff like that. Once upon a time, people weren't born with all these computers and stuff. So we had to learn to type. Anyway, let's see. I'm working on saving up money and getting my passport back and plan to move south to Belize or Panama. Much more traditional. Women in other countries that are looking for good men. Well, where are these traditional Panamanian women that I'm hearing about? Because I've encountered some very entitled. Oh, okay, one of the problems with the culture here, and I'm sure it's not everybody. It's probably particularly bad where I am because there's a mix of like, rich people, rich foreigners mixed with Panamanians, mixed with like native Panamanians, which are three different groups of people. And the culture clash ends up being kind of crazy. And a lot of the local people who probably were a lot more, probably used to have a lot better morals, have learned a lot of the rich foreigners' terrible ways. And it's frustrating to watch. Another problem here is that people, generally speaking, people in Central America don't exercise or care about it. It's very rare that you find someone who like cares about exercise like at all. Not saying they don't exist. It's just really few and far between. You say you've been playing Final Fantasy. You ever play 7 and 8? 7 was my favorite as a kid. Good old Cloud Strife. I think I played 8 for a while because my brother gave it to me, but I didn't finish it. I probably got like halfway through or something. But, I just got on other things. Right now, I'm playing Final Fantasy 3. 1, 2, and 3 were all on the original NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Anyway, actually, the first Final Fantasy was on the Nintendo. The second and the third Final Fantasies, they were just on the Japanese version, the Famicom. So I didn't play them when I was a kid or anything, but you can get them now and download the ROMs and get a translation patch and put it together, and then you can play them now. My favorite one is Final Fantasy 2 so far. I like that one a lot. Are you going to build a dredger for your canal projects? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not on that right now. Oh, John Smith, are you the one who keeps talking about poutine? French fries with cheese curds topped with brown gravy. Please do a video where you gear up poutine for your kids. Man, that does sound delicious. I don't know where to find cheese curds here. And I guess I can make brown gravy. Anyway, Fallout's another great game you'd probably like. Give those a try if you haven't. I'll have to remember that, Fallout. Although I don't play a lot. Like most of my video game playing is like if I wake up at 3 a.m. because I went to bed at like 8 and then I'm wide awake, I'll play something for an hour and then go back to bed. Most of the time I'm doing real life stuff. My brother made a fan with harmless flappy floppy rubber blades. That's cool. I like my fans to be a little bit dangerous because if you don't teach your kids, how are they going to learn? It's funny, people often say you gotta be more safe with your kids. You gotta have everything rubber covered and wrap everything with bubble wrap and stuff. But like, what are you teaching your kids then? You're teaching them that they can do anything and it doesn't matter. They run face first into the corner of a table and just bounce off. That's not what life is. That's not how life works. No, I'm a father. I have to teach my kids that the world is not all wrapped in rubber. You're not going to bounce off everything. They're dangerous things. So why would I go to all this effort to like rubberize my house when it's a perfect place to teach them? Not that I'm going to put spikes on things to make it more dangerous, but just just normal things like a fan. Okay, the fan could definitely have a shroud around it, but no, my kids are at the point where they can totally, I can just say to them, don't go near that. This doesn't have a cover, and they will get it. I might watch them a little bit, keep an eye on it, but um, I have like tools around, there are saw blades. Um, they understand they can touch these things, but not those things, and I make sure they get it before I let them just go around doing stuff. But I think it's one of the really valuable things I teach my kids. It's just how to how to have situational awareness. Someone mentioned that my son the other day in a video when I was moving a boat, he had good situational awareness because when I was moving the boat, when I moved it back a little bit, like it was coming down, he ran out of the way, and then watched, and that's good. Like he's aware of what's going on around him because I don't bubble wrap the world for them. But that is cool. Floppy rubber blades. California just passed a right to fix law that makes companies carry parts for a few years and make fixable stuff. It will be interesting to see how that goes. I bet they're going to find a way around it. Yeah, I mean, carry parts for a few years. They might actually just take advantage of it and be like, all right, we'll carry parts that are going to break every 6 months. That's just another revenue thing now. So now you buy the thing that's going to break over and over, and you can keep buying the repair parts over and over until the whole thing is too broken, and then you have to buy a new one. So now not only are you buying a new one every 6 months, you're also buying new parts for it every 3 weeks. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it's not that bad, but Dyson makes a bladeless fan. I like yours better. I like this fan a lot, actually. I find it very aesthetically pleasing. I am a wee bit of an artist. I like things that look nice. Maybe nice is the wrong word, but there's a certain Jaimie aesthetic to things that I kind of like. Often when I make things, they look a little dangerous and rough, and maybe a little bit Mad Max, Blade Runner-ish, somewhere in there. I like it. Okay, so about the Dyson bladeless fan, the blades are actually in the base, but it is said they are more efficient. Yeah, you can't find what you don't look for. That's true. Well, actually, that's not true. That's not totally true. Sometimes you do find what you're not looking for. Like, one time I met a girl, and I was not looking at all. And that was a very, very pleasant experience, actually. That was a very nice experience. I was just walking down the beach, and I was just minding my own business. And yeah, that was cool. Anyway, do you have a goat or cow for milk? No, I don't. I do want to, though, at some point. Okay, Matthias Wandel did a fan test video. The Dyson performed rather poorly. Yeah, so this is why whenever someone tells me about something is more efficient or less efficient and all this stuff, I always just say, okay, and I don't put a lot of stock in what people say until I have some actual information. So yeah, I have no idea. I like this fan, works great. People have been telling me a lot about these toroidal propellers, which, I mean, I've gotten so many different pieces of information, like they're twice as efficient. Then it's like, well, they're twice as efficient under these very specific circumstances. Other than that, they're like 8% more efficient. Or, all kinds of different stuff. And it's like, well, what I have works and doesn't collect seaweed. Those toroidal propellers would just pick up seagrass and seaweed like crazy. Eating popcorn. Oh, man. Eating popcorn, taking a break from working. I really want to grow popcorn. Steel bases, cedar draw knifing. Engine at machinist, bolt out. Oh, you got the bolt out. Nice. See the powwow is live. Hello, Jaimie. Hope you are well. I am good, Ark. Long time lurker. All right. Do you have a status for trampoline in your dome? I do not have any status for the trampoline in my dome. Although I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, and various people were like, "Dude, you'll totally be able to get a free trampoline." So I think they might be right. I think there's a decent chance I'll be able to get a free, like a trampoline donated from some company. But first I have to at least have the floors under construction before I'm going to start asking for trampolines for a couple reasons. I mean, I don't want to ask some company for a trampoline and then send me some $1,000 trampoline and I'm like so grateful and it's like, well, it's going to be like 4 months before I actually set it up when I make a video. If they're going to send it to me, it's already going to take a month to get here. I wanted to get here and set it up and show some appreciation. And then the other thing is my first floor is already full of stuff because I have the stuff for 3 floors of a house all on the first floor. So my first floor is a lot of storage right now. I don't need more stuff to put in storage. Actually, my house is full of stuff, not even just for the 3 floors. There's also stuff for the guest house. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff in my house right now. I got to get some floors made. But yeah, I'm tentatively optimistic that I can get a company to donate a trampoline to me. I hope. Ark says I poop and pee outside and use a solar shower. I will get the plumbing fixed this winter. Plumbing schmalumming. How did you shower in your early years in Vermont during the winter? Oh, snow showers. Okay, so there were 2 different. Well, actually, in the early, like the first winter I was in Vermont, I was living in a tent. Well, first I was in a tent, and then as I was building my dome, I got the steel frame up, and then I wrapped these 3 giant tarps around it, so I could work inside and start building the dome. And the tarps like slowly slid up as I built the walls. So for a while, I was inside that big dome thing, covered in tarps, inside a tent. And yeah, it was basically camping. It was pretty nice for camping. I had a concrete floor and this big indoor space to work on. But showers, I just went outside in like 2 feet of snow and just picked up snow and just because I'd be warm enough that it would melt on me. And I would always have a snow shower after doing a bunch of work. So I'd be hot, I'd be like sweating and steaming, and I'd be like, all right, I'm ready right now. I'd run out totally naked in the snow, grab the snow, get some soap, more snow. And, it was hot enough to melt the snow, and it actually worked really well. And by the end of my shower, I was freezing cold and it felt great. And I'd go back inside and hang out by the wood stove. One of my favorite things about living in a cold environment was just like going in from the cold. It was always so nice to go into a nice warm house after being out in the cold all day. But pretty soon, I had a spring set up so I could use the spring water to shower. And then I think maybe even probably by the second winter, I had an indoor shower. So that was, showering was not a big deal. Although even then, I would still go outside and do the snow shower sometimes. Because I don't know, I'm a glutton for punishment, slightly masochistic. I don't know, maybe I'm a lot masochistic, whatever. Oh, let's see. Found my old Zippo, Ark says. Curious if you tried the gasoline in yours. Okay, someone sent me a Zippo. It's not here yet. It'll be here on the next container, the next delivery. I actually just went and picked up some packages, although I didn't get anything this time. Yeah, the next container, I'm going to have some stuff on it. And I should have a Zippo lighter in that. Cool designs for garden, art, wind generators to run pumps and stuff would be likely to sell. Oh, you're saying stuff to sell. Cool designs for garden, art, wind generators to run pumps and stuff would be likely to sell. Yeah. Will you be producing more wood planks soon? It depends what you mean by soon. I think soon, yes. Um, yeah, but it depends how patient you are. Soon to me, because like the time doesn't seem like it goes by slow because I'm like working hard all the time. But yeah, I'm zeroing in on cutting boards for my upper floors. Dude, snow showers. That is absolutely savage. I love the wood heat. Everybody is constantly asking me about the plumbing, but it's been a non-issue. I don't care. Yeah, the funny thing is like it's amazing how much luxury people live in that they think is necessities. But when you get away from it, okay, one of the most useful things I did in my life was I was homeless for a year. And it was by choice. I mean, it was also very advantageous at the time because I was trying to pay off a student loan, and I was like, well, if I just skip rent, I can pay this damn loan off faster, and whatever. Um, but during that year, I learned a lot of stuff. It's like it's a really the funny thing is like I don't want to tell people, yo, it's great to be homeless, but like you can't really appreciate a home until you don't have one, um, it's just like you can't really appreciate what food is until you've truly been hungry, like gone days without food, or like you can't really appreciate a good night's sleep until you've gone 4 nights with no sleep, and done that several times. Like doing without stuff really kind of resets what you think of as necessity and luxury. And I think it's a really useful practice to, at some point in your life, kind of early on, just just take out as much luxury as possible and just spend some time living like that. Maybe like just go camp out in the woods for like 2 months or something, and you'll learn a lot. Like you start realizing how much stuff in our lives just really isn't that important. And a lot of it is stuff that we put so much energy into because we think it's a necessity. But then you don't have it for a while, and it's like, why was I putting so much energy into that? It wasn't worth it. It was making my life harder than it was actually, what I was getting out of it. It wasn't worth it. Anyway, how has the efficiency on your boats been doing? I don't know. Pretty good. Pretty good, I think. Um, I just drove the Shark Slicer, my bigger cargo boat, to town and back. And I was going to get video of that, but it was kind of a bit of a rushed trip because it was like a last minute thing. Oh, the packages are here. I got to go get them. Um, I ended up just getting a bunch of stuff for Deshana. And there was actually one package for me, but it's still there because the guy couldn't find it when I was there. And then I get back, he's like, "Oh yeah, I found it, so come pick it up next time." I'm like, "Come on, man!" Anyway, but it was I was just rushing out, and I didn't bring a camera with me, so I didn't get video of that trip. But yeah, it was great. No problem. Got there and back, with plenty of energy to spare. Uh, I think I went pretty much full speed the whole way there and back, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and usually I do those trips in my little boat, the Zombie Chopper. In that boat, I don't generally drive full speed. I think I can get like all the way one way and maybe halfway back going full speed on the battery. As long as there's also some sun, I'm getting some charge on the way. But I don't like to. I don't want to run my batteries down in case I need it for something. Like the other day, I went to, I went on a trip to town, and like halfway there was this big storm that came in, and I had to drive full speed, like straight away from it the wrong way. So at that point, I was really glad that I'd been driving a little bit slower, saving some energy, so that when I needed to drive full speed, I could. Do I hear a little kid? Which one is that? Hey, how you doing? Oh, it might be time to go in a minute. Do you need a light for the bathroom? Yeah? All right, here, I'll shine the light for the bathroom. How's that? All right, we're going to have low light for a minute because I have a 3-year-old using the potty right over there. So yeah, the boats have been going great. Although my one motor is leaking a little bit of oil, so I talked to the company. They said they sell oil seal replacements, so I'm going to get some of those. And it's just leaking a little bit, so I can still use it, but I want to change it as soon as I can. I actually enjoy the outdoor toilet. I find myself training my body to cycle through it, to cycle through the outdoor toilet. Needs during the daytime. To cycle through its needs during the daytime. Got it. Yeah, the funny thing is when I first moved off grid, I was just like pooping in the woods. And at first I was like, oh no, it's not as good. You want to drink water? All right, there's the light for the kitchen. All right, I got to aim a light for the kitchen for a water drinking kid. Hold on. But yeah, I was pooping in the, I just dig a hole and poop in that and fill in the hole. But pretty soon, I realized that I would rather squat and poop in the woods than sit on some nasty toilet somewhere where my butt's touching it. And squatting is actually much better for you in terms of pooping, like biologically speaking, which I didn't know at the time. But when I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, totally, man. Anyway, does the Vermont compound still exist? Do you keep track or just history? It does still exist. I don't keep track at all. Yeah, when I sold my own old place in Vermont, I sold it and I was like, that's it. I don't want to know what else happens here after this. Because, it's like this place that I put my heart and soul into, and I don't want to know what's going on there after I have nothing to do with it anymore. It's someone else's things, The softness of modern people is very apparent, yeah. People are absolutely terrified of the idea of pooping and peeing outside for hundreds of thousands of years. Things were hard. Now people are fatties. Yeah. Life. Here's the thing. When life is hard, people work hard and try hard to make life better. And then when life gets easy, it's real easy for people to sit back and let everything fall apart and get hard again. The way we're going to fix that is eventually, well, I hope that eventually people will just take it upon themselves to say, morally speaking, the right thing to do is to keep working hard even when I don't have to, and that will keep life good. Like, you have to maintain like your own freedom, you have to maintain your own productivity, you have to take care of life, or else it starts falling apart. And until people just start taking that upon themselves, things will just keep going in this cycle where life gets easy, people get lazy, then life gets crap because people aren't taking care of anything. And once life's hard, people start trying again and make life better. And then people get soft and lazy and make life worse again. Yeah, it's not gonna consistently be good until people can figure out, until people are adventure builders, man. Become adventure builders. You got to stay strong when you don't need to be. You got to have courage on the easy days and the hard days. And the funny thing is, it's easy to have courage on the easy days, right? And it's a lot harder to have courage on the hard days. But if you don't have courage on the easy days because you take it for granted, that can cause as many problems as not having courage on the hard days. Hold on, let me just check my... Hey, Archie, did you get your water? You back in bed? Okay, I love you. All right. We're good there. I love having kids. Kids are awesome, man. Although it's funny when people see how I raise my kids, sometimes people are like, "Oh my God, you swear around them and stuff." Yeah. And you're harsh with your kids? Yeah, I'm harsh with my kids. A lot of time we also joke around and stuff. Anyway, I believe in ascetic habits. It's easier to be wealthy if you need less. Eating frugally in an optimal diet, pushing your body, all these are great. Yeah, totally. I had a black widow. I had a black widow living in one of my latrines, a hole in ground, galvanized tub with bottom cut out upside down, 55-gallon drum, lid as a cover to keep chickens out. Kind of cool to see it every day. Oh, don't let that black widow bite you in the butt, man. Whew. Making me miss the crossing Western Canada in a Volkswagen bus. Oh, you crossed Western Canada in Volkswagen bus? That sounds fun, man. Ark says I like squatting to poop for hip flexibility also. Yeah, my indoor toilet is a squat toilet, just built right on the floor. There's it's in a video somewhere. When life is hard, you are busy. When life is easy, you look for purpose. Dude, there's purpose. When life is easy, it doesn't mean that like everything is done. Like everything's just going to be good forever. Like when life is easy, that's when you got to stock up. That's when you got to get ready for the future. Like like say you've got a harvest and life is easy because you've got a lot of food. It's like, okay, don't waste that. Save it. Do whatever you have to do to prepare for when life is going to be hard. Like when life is easy, stock up. And if you get to the point where you're pretty stocked up, when you've got whatever savings you need to be able to live for whatever time. And people always think of money as savings, but like to me, savings is like stuff you need to live, even if no one's selling anything. But anyway, this is a separate issue. But once you've got all that taken care of, it still doesn't mean you should just chill. There's always something to do. It shouldn't be that hard to find purpose. But yeah, it's really good to figure out what kind of purpose you can have for when you're not just scraping by. Have you ever encountered the story of John Titor, the time traveler on the internet? I don't know. Interesting version of the future. The future hates us all because we wasted the inheritance, prion diseases. Just an interesting scenario. Not saying Titor's story is true or not, just kind of an interesting set of happenings. Yeah, maybe I should look into that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the internet, or not the internet, if the future is pretty disappointed in our performance at this point in time. Because man, yeah, when I look at my life and like the generation of my parents and just this general time period, it's like we got so much in terms of technology and access to resources. And one of the ways you can really see the effects of this is if you look at a graph of like human population. Like for a long time it was like kind of wiggling around, then the last 100 years is like zoop, just like billions and billions of people. And that's all we've done. We've made a lot of people. Well, that's not all we've done, but we could be doing so much more. We've made a lot of people and not focused on quality of excellence. And I'm not saying that no one is doing anything great. I think there are people doing great stuff. It's just the majority of people are just not doing much with their lives, and they're not even happy about it. That's the thing that I think makes the argument the most valid. Like if people were just like chilling and were happy about that and felt fulfilled in their lives, then it would be like, well, who am I to say that that's wrong? But like people are miserable, and they're like taking all these pills to make themselves feel better instead of just finding, what whoever that was saying, finding purpose and finding something to do, figuring out some way to progress in some way, finding some path to go down. I wish I could have one local friend like Jaimie. You're awesome, dude. Dude, I've been trying to get friends like me here for like years. I've got one. And it's amazing having one cool friend. But I was really hoping that by this point I would have a dozen cool friends living here by now. Oh, that would, I mean, what an amazing thing that would be. That's one of the it's one of my big failures. I feel like it's like I've that's been a major failure. Just not connecting with enough people in the right way at the right time or whatever. But one thing I've learned is that it's difficult to convince, well, it's difficult to meet people who are, kind of like me, because we're all off doing stuff. Like, people often ask me, have you seen this video on the internet? And I'm like, no, I'm not online, I'm doing stuff. And like, other people are like me, are off doing stuff. And then even if I run into one and talk to them online or something, they're always like, oh man, that's awesome what you're doing. And I'm doing something here that's also awesome. And it's like, well, then we can't connect. You're doing your thing over there, I'm doing my thing here. So, I mean, it's pretty cool that I have one awesome friend here. But it would it would be really, yeah, it would be really awesome to have more. Okay, Ark is back talking about the T-Door. For your entertainment, I often think of it. I'm interested in the goings on of our time. It seems we are born in a phase of decline after a zenith. Agree with you about emphasis on quality. People are not taught that death is inevitable and that they should be cognizant of how life is literally spent. No right or wrong, just a path or discipline, as you were saying. Yeah, so one of the really frustrating things is that, yeah, today there's all this stuff about how there's no right and wrong, well, everyone's different. It's like, no. Some people are doing a good job. Some people are doing a bad job. There's good and bad. Some people are putting effort into life, and some people are just like lazing around. Some people are being greedy. Some people are actually adding value to the world. Like, but we're told don't judge. Don't judge. No, judge. You should judge. You should practice your judgment. Everyone should be judging all the time. You should have good judgment. It's an important thing to have, but we're told, like, just like you're saying, there's no right or wrong. Don't judge. Don't judge. It's very silly. Um, History of man, COBOL, BASIC, DOS, Windows. What is next? How much do acres cost there? Totally depends. I mean, $3,000 for an acre, $30,000 for an acre. Yeah, it totally depends where it is. If you're going through a real estate agent, if you become friends with someone who has land. Like, I stayed here for a year and got to know people. That's how I got the land I have at a pretty cheap price. People are difficult to connect with. Not only do people have bell curves of temperament, aptitude, but also if you actually do things, those things compound. Each move is a new life. Each finished project yields new horizons that compound. Well, it is. Oh, is that a bug? Oh, there's a bug. Get back here. Haha. Oh, where's my window? Sorry, it's just little cockroach. Now he's dead and out the window. Yeah, it is really, well, one of the problems is it's so difficult to connect with people today because people have become spoiled. Like, people like it. I mean, obviously not everyone is like this, but just the standard person, they expect so much and want to offer so little. And in terms of a lot of different things, like one of the big ones is understanding. Like people want. So often people think, well, my way of thinking is the only way of thinking, and if you don't think what I think, then you're stupid and horrible and whatever. If you don't have my religion, we can't talk. If you're not going to join my ideology, then we can't be friends. And there isn't the kind of stuff today that used to bring people together. So you go back 100, 200, 500 years, whatever, people had to work together to make their lives easier just because the government wasn't going to hook you up. There was like you had to work with your neighbors. You couldn't be bickering with them. People didn't have time for that crap. People were too busy growing food, building your house, taking care of stuff. People had to work together, and that would bring people together. But today it's like what brings people together? TV shows. You can talk about TV. And I guess, like, I don't know. There's so little that people do that adds value to their lives that they can do with other people. And everyone's like busy working jobs for companies. No one's working for themselves anymore. And again, when I say no one, I don't literally mean no one, just like most people. CT yields new horizons that compound. Oh wait, that's the end of that one. I think survival makes people come together. The pressure of surviving. Yeah, when you have to work together to survive, that really makes a big difference in life. And yeah, Comanche raids, famine, drought, no grocery stores, no help, just you and the world. Yeah, when it was like you, like if I was here and there was no store to go to, and like I'm going to be working with my neighbors to be like, if I go shoot I shot a big fish the other day. It was great, delicious. Ooh, good fish. It was a big fat one too. Well, it was like a fatty. Um, but yeah, if I shoot a big fish one day, I'll like share it with my neighbors, and then if it's more than I and my family can eat, and when you work together with people, you can have mutually beneficial relationships where anytime you have an excess of something that you're going to end up throwing away or wasting in some way, you can just give it to someone else that you trust and is on your team and is your ally, and they'll do the same when they have extra something, and then you end up having this mutually beneficial relationship, and that brings people together. But we don't have that these days. Jaimie, how do you preserve your food without a fridge? Generally, I don't. Um, well, Deshana has a fridge at her house, so I have some stuff in her fridge at different times. I do have the parts to make a fridge, actually, right over there. And I'm going to do that at some point. I kind of haven't done it because if I have a fridge here, I'm never going to have any reason to go over to Deshana's house. And I kind of want to have at least some reason to still interact with her. I mean, she's the mother of my kids. But a lot of the food I have is, like oats. Often we have oats for breakfast. And almost every day I shred coconuts into our oatmeal. And that's a coconut right off the tree. And right now, there are 3 coconuts by my front door. They preserve themselves, at least until you open them. Once I open the coconut, I shred the whole thing. We'll use some in cereal in the morning, and then I'll put it in. I'll make coconut sourdough bread, and making bread, I don't have to preserve yeast because I have a Bubbles. What is Bubbles? Bubbles is a sourdough starter. No, I have a sourdough starter named Bubbles because it makes bubbles, and that. I don't have to preserve it. It's just this living thing. As long as I make bread every few days, it does its thing and takes care of itself, preserves itself. It's a living thing and takes care of itself. And the sourdough bread is actually much healthier than just like dead wheat bread because it's fermented and blah blah blah. It ends up being much healthier. And then vegetables and stuff like that. When I'm growing a little bit. I have some peppers growing, and I grow some bananas and plantains. Not as much. I mean, I'm still working on growing stuff, but I do grow a bit of stuff. So that stuff, we just eat it pretty soon after picking it. And a lot of things you don't have to refrigerate, like eggs. If I go to the store and get eggs, they last a week. without refrigeration. I mean, probably like 2 weeks. I have 4 kids. If I get like 4 dozen eggs, they're not going to last a week. Um, and then like vegetables, I never, even if I have a refrigerator, I don't put vegetables in a refrigerator because I don't know, they don't seem to last any longer. I'm sure whatever. I just put them in like a little netting, like what's it, like cheesecloth kind of stuff, covered over the vegetables so no bugs get to them. And they'll like a pepper will last a week. And when I go to the grocery store and get tomatoes, I'll get a red one, an orange one, a kind of yellowy one, starting to get greenish one, and a green one. And then I'll eat as I eat them, they ripen. So maybe I'll get like 6 or 10, and just get them in a gradient like that. And yeah, just like any vegetables and stuff like that. I'll try to get ones that are basically ready now, and then ones that are going to be ready in a week. It just kind of takes planning a little bit. I guess the only thing I want a refrigerator for is meat, and cheese kind of stuff. That first winter of Vermont sounds so interesting. It was amazing, that first winter in Vermont. Like when I first moved off grid, I quit my job. Oh, I was working. I had a art moving business with this woman who was difficult. Let's just say that. And I was gonna say we got in a fight, but it's more like she got in a fight with me, and I was just like, all right, well, I'm leaving. Anyway, I quit that job and put everything I owned in my car and just drove out to the woods and put on a backpack with a bunch of stuff, some food, tent, and just hiked up into the woods. My land was a mile from where I could park, and just, oh man, that first week, just no phone, no job, no nothing. I was just in the woods, and it was like, here I am. I'm waking up in the morning. I don't know what the future holds, but I've got this land here, and I can do basically whatever I want here. And let's see how it goes. Man, it was the first time in my life that I just felt like there wasn't this thing behind me just like ready to bite all the time, like bills just coming after me. It's like, okay, here's some money, here's some money, here's some money, here's some money. It was like the first time I could relax. It was amazing. It was really cool. And now at this point, there's no way I could go back to like a city life, like with bills. Oh my God. I don't know how people deal with like an electric bill and a water bill and a this and a that. Oh, I've got an internet bill, that's enough. That is totally enough. And I pay it every 6 months, and I'm just like, here's 6 months. I don't want to hear from you. Under a tent, under a tarp dome. Was it significantly warmer at night under the double layer? Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't even. I don't know. It was. It was cold. My first winter in Vermont, it was cold. But yeah, it definitely helped having the dome covered and then my tent inside that, because the dome blocked all the wind. And I wouldn't say it held that much heat because it was just such a huge space. All the heat went up to the top and then went out the top. But it totally blocked any wind from my tent. So my tent, I had a little wood stove inside it. I could heat it up. Although the wood stove was small and it definitely wouldn't go all night. I just let it go out. But I would get it blazing hot in there, like in the evening when I was having dinner and cooking. Oh man, that was a really fun time. If you eat lunch, what is your typical lunch? Lunch is probably the most variable meal I have, because usually I have like a pretty standard breakfast, and there's a few different dinners I have. If I'm here by myself, like my kids aren't here, I often skip lunch. But if my kids are here, depends how much breakfast we ate. and stuff. But sometimes we'll just have popcorn for lunch if we're like busy doing stuff. We'll just make a giant pot of popcorn. We'll eat it all, and then, I mean, we'll have like early dinner after that and have a lot of dinner. Oh my God, you fed your kids popcorn for lunch? Yeah, relax. My kids are probably healthier than yours. Um, but then, other times, well, today we had fried potatoes and eggs in spring roll wrappers, like rice paper wrappers. That was pretty good. Yesterday, I don't remember what we had, but generally speaking, if my kids are here, we make some kind of decent lunch. A lot of times we'll have peanut butter sandwiches for lunch, because like I was saying earlier, I often get a coconut. Usually every day I get a coconut, and I'll use part of the coconut in cereal, and then I'll make bread with the rest of the coconut. And that bread I'll let rise all day and cook in that evening. And at lunch, we'll have the bread from the night before that we ate some of the night before, and then we'll finish off at lunchtime. And it's bread, it's sourdough bread with a whole bunch of coconut in it. So it's a lot better for you than just like your standard white bread or whatever. So I feel pretty good about peanut butter sandwiches on coconut bread. Yeah, if my kids aren't here though, I often just skip lunch. I'm just working right through. Mutually beneficial is the key. A lot of people don't have anything to offer. Yeah. This is the reason I do almost everything by myself. It's probably also one of the reasons I have a lot of difficulty finding a lady partner, because I insist that she also have something to contribute. And today, just most people in general, women or men, they just don't think that they should have to contribute anything to a relationship. It's just like, well, in Disney movies, just magic happens and then you're happy, right? That's it. You get in a relationship and everything's perfect, then you're happy. It's like, no. You got to do stuff, But like any relationship, work relationship, whatever, like, yeah, mutually beneficial is the key. Totally, what you're saying. Okay, partly as a consequence of the system for local cooperation being overshadowed by the convenience of the store. Yeah. So a lot of our society is actually designed to isolate people. And this is another one of those situations where people have just accepted it because it's easy, it's convenient, to just accept this life where you're kind of independent, but you're not really independent, because you're not independent if you're depending on this utility and that other utility and the store, and you're basically dependent on a bunch of big businesses and government systems. So instead of being dependent on your neighbors, now people are dependent on these big things that are just these vague monsters out in the world, like these gods of who make sure that the bananas are at the store and they're this price and you can go buy them by yourself. You don't have to work with your neighbors or anything. So like a lot of our society is designed to isolate people, and a lot of that is because then people are easy to control, and it's easy to get people to vote for things or just turn a blind eye or accept whatever, and then narcissistic psychopaths who want to be in control can just decide that you're doing whatever they want because too many people accepted it. I think the ideal shop would have an open-ended south-facing Quonset arch on top of shipping containers to store materials connected to another building that would have tools, machines, other areas connected for living, also a greenhouse room to hang out in. That does sound pretty awesome. Although I would never say anything is the ideal anything. Yeah, I mean the ideal, what's the ideal building or the ideal vehicle or whatever, it always depends on your circumstances, what you need, what's available. Just there's a whole bunch of parameters you got to throw in there. So I never kind of accept the idea that any one thing is ideal. I am interested in architectural solutions for winter. Okay, so my house in Vermont, even though I have nothing to do with it anymore, but it had south facing windows, and the windows wrapped halfway around the dome. It was like, I think it was like 40 feet across of windows and like 2 stories high. It was just like this giant wall of glass. And it was all double paned. And then I put a third layer of mylar, clear mylar, on the inside of that. So it was triple paned. And it wasn't the greatest insulation in the world, but it was pretty good. And with so much light coming in from the low sun, like in the summer, not that much light came in those windows because the sun was overhead. But in the winter, the sun just blasted right in those windows and heated the house up so much. Like I didn't have to have the wood stove on in the middle of the winter. The house would just be like tropical all the time. I would often open like a window in the top of the house and open the front door to let some cool air come in to cool off the house because it would heat up so much. That was pretty amazing. But yeah, insulation and getting the sun in there. Paying for heat in a stupid house design is lame. Yeah, stupid solar gain is, or having solar gain is amazing. One of the reasons your dome in Vermont is intriguing. Domes are so cool from the interior, indoor, outdoor. My ideal shop will be connected or close to a dome structure. Yeah, it blows me away that people live in cold environments with no insulation in their house. In like we have so many ways we can do it. There's so much technology available today. Like old technology, new technology, there's so many different ways to insulate a house. And when I lived in Vermont, like people in town would be asking me about, you must be freezing up there on the mountain. We're huddled up in blankets in my house, and I'm like, no, I'm hot. I'm like laying on the floor trying to cool off, like totally naked. Like, what are you talking about? Well, my house is insulated. The sun comes in. It's hot in my house. And people would be in these houses. It was just like a little sheet of wood between like ice and them. It's crazy. Let's see. Cool you had experience as an art mover. I've done that also. Not a ton of art moving, but several gigs and some other affiliated self-employment. Yeah, I mean the art moving business was all right. I had to deal with a lot of snooty people, but whatever. This is when I did the art moving stuff, I was like late 20s, and I was all in great shape and had all this hair on my head, and it was before I chipped my tooth. Like I was a good looking dude. So often when I picked up art or dropped off art from these female artists, they would be asking me to stay over and stuff. And I was always like, no, I gotta go. Um, that was always funny. There were some really weird interactions I'm not even gonna get into. Um, have you read the Humanure Handbook? Someone gave me the Humanure Handbook once. It talks about using human poops to grow food. Rather than flushing the money you paid for food, you can regrow new food. For example, I had fish in an old bath and fed them for a week and never needed to feed them again because their waste regrew algae, which they ate. Beauty. Simplest way would be to use a large bucket toilet with soil to cover the waste mixed with charcoal, then simply plant in it. You could use recycled containers. Well, all our poop goes into this methane producing fart machine that also produces plant fertilizer. So we do use that stuff. But yeah, it's not really the humanure thing. But I get what you're saying. What did you use as the skin on the non-glazed facets of your Vermont dome? I know you had a cool concrete structure there. Your Panama dome doesn't have any echo, which is cool. Well, it does have echo if you're in the middle. But yeah, where I'm right now, there's a bunch of stuff around me. there's a mattress leaning up right there that I sleep on, and some shelves there, and right here is all my what do you call it? Bolts of cloth and stuff. My wand in here. All my sewing supplies, you know. So all that stuff's absorbing sound. Wait, what were we talking about? Oh, an echo, which is cool. Yeah. Okay. What do they use as a skin on the non-glaze? Okay, my dome in Vermont. The final, when it was finished, it had plywood on the outside and it was painted, and the plywood was glued with spray foam to foam panels, and that was the insulation. But yeah, it was just plywood on the outside, and occasionally what's it called? Those pecker birds, woodpecker. A woodpecker would make a hole in the plywood. Although down at the bottom of the building, the first maybe half meter, 2 feet was sheet metal around, because I didn't want to have the wood go right down to the ground. I wanted to have something that would be a little tougher. What did you use? Okay. Have you ever heard of Drop City in Colorado, CO? It was an old 60s art commune. They made a bunch of really interesting domes that they used car roofs or hoods for the skin. Oh, that's funny. That's pretty cool. No, I haven't heard of it. I tried to make peanut butter popcorn twice recently. It was a miserable failure. Yeah, the peanut butter popcorn, you got to get it just right, because it's like it's a fine line between cooking your peanut butter popcorn and burning the crap out of it. And I'm not even sure. I mean, the more oil you use and the less peanut butter you use, the more you can get away with. But I've got it up to like half peanut butter, half oil. And as long as I'm stirring it the whole time, I can get it to pop without burning it. Although my peanut butter also has no sugar in it, and I think the sugar would burn more quickly. Had to scrape all the burned oil and kernels out of the pan. Maybe someday I'll get it right. Too much oil, maybe? Yeah, maybe not enough oil. Jaimie needs a smoker. Make some jerky. It could be a whole build series. Jerky. About finding a lady partner. There's a kind of domesticated, sedated aspect that comes from relationships outside of division of labor towards survival. Things are easy and the inner world overtakes. Society is designed to isolate. Yeah. I would add that society is more designed to farm people and make them reliant. Yeah, I mean that's part of isolating. You isolate people, and then you make them dependent on your business instead of dependent on each other. So, and this is one of the reasons it's so hard to find a relationship today that's any good, because we're so discouraged from doing any of the stuff that would make for a good relationship. And one of probably the main reason for that is that if you're in a healthy relationship with someone, you're spending time with them and you're getting satisfaction from that, right? But if you're not in any kind of healthy relationship, either you're alone or you're in some miserable situation, you're going to be seeking some kind of comfort outside of that, which means buying stuff. So it all just comes down to, yeah, like you're saying, people are being farmed to get us to do crap and then buy stuff, and just it's just a silly cycle that's totally unnecessary. We currently have the freedom to choose a better life, and most people are not doing it. Most people are accepting just the status quo, what they're being told they should do. The subjectivity of the word ideal, I agree. Yeah, I figured you would agree with me on that. I agree, just my own personal thinking. I want architecture which suit my needs the most. Okay, when did you figure out USA style of living was not for you? I don't know, a few months after moving to the United States. I stayed there for a while, and when I moved off grid, I was hoping that if I lived far enough out into the woods, things would be better, but I like it here a lot more. And not even necessarily because the rules are a lot better here. Just enforcement is so lax. And the rules are much more relaxed here too, you know. Okay, Mylar is insane how well it insulates. Is it? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought I was making an air pocket that was insulating, but yeah, maybe the Mylar actually insulates too. Cool. It's amazing. I also think it's so beautiful. Okay, so the Mylar I had insulating my windows wasn't the silvery stuff. It was clear, so you could see through the windows. Do you agree that stuff is way more expensive now compared to before? Example, houses, food, etc. Well, that's something that you agree or don't agree. It either is or isn't, and I don't have a lot of direct experience with this because of where I live and how I'm living my life. But as far as I understand, yeah, prices have been going up. Well, I mean, and in the long term, yeah, definitely prices have been going up. You know, you hear like old stories about kids would go to the store with a penny and come back with like a bag full of candy. You know, now a penny, you can't get anything for a penny. Um, and I remember when gasoline was $1.33 a gallon or under $1 a gallon, and now what's it like? I don't know what it is where you are, but someone bought gasoline here recently. It was like $5.50 or something like that. Yeah, seems like the prices of things are going up. Our house in New Mexico was a clear story that had great solar gain. Absolutely amazing to experience. There's no going back to bad design after experiencing the warmth, economics, and ease. Yeah, once you live in a house that works, then you go into like all these other ridiculous houses and they feel so it just seems so insane that someone even made like someone put all the effort in to make this thing that just obviously won't work at all, you know? About art moving, I worked art Chicago and used the $750 to live in a cabin in an amazing red canyon. I had other fabrication-based enterprises, did work on window displays in New York City. Great experiences. And tricks to steal. Do you have a bird feeder there? Any crazy exotic birds down there? I don't have any bird feeders, but there are. I mean, I'm on the ocean. There's lots of birds around. Um, there's some really cool, like tall birds, like cranes and things like that. But there's this one kind that's gray and has like a kind of a frill up here, and they have this red eye with the dark pupil. They're really pretty, and they have like a yellow long beak and like cool yellow legs. I don't know what they are exactly, but they're really pretty. Are you part of the Earthship? Wait, oh, he's asking Ark. Are you part of the Earthship area outside of Taos? No, I wasn't. Don't live there anymore. Mylar reflects massive amounts of thermal radiation. Such cool stuff. Let's see. I should probably shut up now. This is the longest one of these I've done in a while. I wasn't planning to do one very long because I started at 9. But is there anywhere you can dissociate from the rest of humanity? If yes, for how long? Well, I guess if you went to a remote enough place and just went somewhere where nobody goes, like some cold place, and we're like below the radar enough that no one would notice you, then you could theoretically live out your life totally dissociated from humanity. But other than that, you know, someone's going to be trying to get you to buy stuff and get you taxed in some way. Ark says, thanks for doing these talks, Jaimie. I have to go. See you next time. Yeah, I'm going to have to go soon too. I'm starting to slur my words. Like 2 hours of talking. That's a lot of talking for a Jaimie. I'm more of a doer. Jaimie, hope you're doing well, brother. How are you? I'm pretty good, man. You know, lots of good stuff, some bad stuff, but generally speaking, things are pretty good. And if you just showed up, I think I'm taking off in a minute. But I hope you're doing good, Dallas, and I hope everyone else is doing great. And I'm almost at 2 hours here, so yeah, I'm gonna shut up. Maybe I'll play a little bit of Final Fantasy 3 and go to sleep, or maybe I'll just go right to sleep. I don't know. I got to turn off the internet. I always turn off my internet at night, so it doesn't fry my brains, because I don't want to have to wear my tinfoil hat to sleep in, right? I don't know if that's actually an issue or not. But anyway, everybody have a good night. Good night, Vasco. Take care, you too. Home planet, thanks all. Yeah. All right. I'm going to hit my little X here, and everybody have a great night or whatever. It's neat watching you all these years since a giant robot and then seeing you live. All right, I'm out of here.